In the very early days, our market was the US. Most of that was feeder cattle, but then as we gradually got into the cattle feeding business, we started to develop a market for beef. It was only later on that we started to look more broadly at the world market.
You don't go into any market and are given, a special privilege. When you go in there, you earn every pound of beef.
We send more beef to the States than we eat at home. So the access to the U.S. market is critically important. The Americans were not quite as free traders as we were. They had a beef import law against Australia and New Zealand. When their quota had been filled into the United States, they would simply direct the next load to Canada and then transship. Transship means move it out of this box and put it into that box and send it off to the United States. The United States got wise to this and said, you can't keep doing that. You cannot transship. So we're stuck with more beef than Australia and New Zealand, proportionally speaking. We fought for an equivalent beef import law. We were scorned. People said, well, we thought you guys were free traders. Well, yes, we were free traders, but we also wanted to be free and fair traders.
We always felt that Canada had a huge potential. A lot of that depended on the relationship we had with cattle producers in the United States. Cattle producers had a lot of influence in US policy that has always surprised me.
The anti-dumping and countervail case, we weren't underselling in the US. It was all traded on a North American basis. Anti-dumping was described as one of the most pernicious forms of protectionism in the world because you don't really know what your dumping rate is going to be till the end of the year. It's a deposit rate. You've got this huge uncertainty that you're dealing with. The Department of Commerce used what's called best available information. Well, that's what, in this case, RCAF had brought forward as the worst possible information. That would have resulted in huge deposit rates. We estimated that during the summer when those deposit rates, it was costing about $17 million a week. Each individual respondent brought in the right expertise, and we're actually able to demonstrate that we weren't dumping, and more importantly, we were able to win the injury argument that our exports weren't causing any damage to the US producers. I always say court cases aren't like the Olympics. There's no silver and bronze medals. You win them or you lose them. 75% of what we export goes to the US, 50% of what we produce is exported. So, that's why the US is so important to us. So, we pay attention to what's going on down there as much as we do as Ottawa. The whole mandatory country of origin labeling, on the surface you wouldn't think country of origin labeling should violate the WTO. But as we took a look at it, it really became point of production labeling that was being proposed, and the requirements were placed almost entirely on imported cattle and hogs. We developed an opinion that we took to the federal government, persuaded them that they would bring the case forward. We were able to show that the actual cost of the MCO measure was $1 billion. We have the largest two-way trade of any two countries in the world, but we also have the best trading relationship in the world. And while there is the occasional thing like MCO, for the most part, things are really quite extraordinary between our two countries, and that we both benefit from trade.